You're on, Dave.
We're on? Okay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the foundation.
Tuesday night edition. So we are going to be in Daniel 5 tonight. And does anybody know what Daniel chapter 5 is about?
Let's start off with Belshazzar's feast and his handwriting on the wall.
What, Daniel? Oh, that's a typo. I meant 6.
Okay.
Chapter
He got a typo up there.
Yep. It's actually chapter 6. And of course, if you want to donate some lavender for tea or latte, please do so. We've talked about colored coffee, I think. Oh, you're done with the cup, but. So, we are in the book of Daniel. The first session we might get into the book of Daniel, but this one's pretty interesting to say the least. We'll start off in 2 Samuel and then see where we can go from there. So we talked about the creation and the flood, and now we're talking about the end times, and there we go. So whenever you hear the phrase chase the lion, what do you think?
Chasing the line.
Running from the line.
There you go. That's what I'm thinking. Chased by the lion. What I'm thinking. I think you left a word out of it. Chased by the lion. Now, in the natural, anyway.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
the
there's.
They
What
were
is
both
the line?
running. Who was chasing who?
yeah.
Well, go ahead, Don. No, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, no, seriously. What is the symbol of a lion? Is the king of the jungle, the king of everything, the biggest, baddest dude out there.
That's true.
They'll take down a giraffe. I was going to take down a giraffe. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Taking down a giraffe.
Yeah.
What's more amazing is taking down an elephant. I don't know if they can take down an elephant.
Yes, I can.
I've seen him do a baby elephant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It'd be
He
quite
was
the
snapped.
sight.
let's get on to this.
So 2 Samuel 23:20. Don, why don't you read that for us, son? This is a
Well,
I love these things.
with or without glasses, doesn't matter. Remember now, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabazil,
Kabzeel.
whatever, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in time of snow.
I love that part. I really do. 2 lion-like men.
Yep.
These 2 dudes,
They were
bad.
something.
they were bad to the bone, okay? These guys were the fighters of fighters,
Back to the bone.
and he slew them both.
I can-
And he slew a real lion.
Picture with long hair and a
Yeah.
big old beard.
Yeah. And, the Incredible Hulk with a mane,
With a mane and a beard.
These dudes were bad to the bone.
So you don't think of Africa being snowy, right?
Well, and now this didn't happen in Africa.
You
But
probably
yeah, it
could
doesn't
say,
snow in Africa.
Yeah.
But
what
Yeah.
about the Middle East?
in the Middle
Middle
East, it
East.
snows.
That's more along the equator.
But
It snows.
it does snow in
Well, the Bible tells you this.
in
right
that
there.
region.
Snowed in Alabama one time.
It's going to snow.
I remember that.
It's going to snow in Alabama this Sunday.
Yes.
Yes.
It's supposed to
What
be
they're
the
saying.
about 50 Saturday.
Excuse me, Sunday it's going to be 21 and 23 degrees Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's not
Makes you want to miss church, don't it?
mid to high 40s. Mid to high 40s.
But anyway, it snows because I've been in the desert, in the Middle East, in the winter, and it snows. And I'm gonna tell you what, I ain't never been so cold in all my life as out in the desert where there's nothing to stop the wind.
When you
And
think
that wind is
of
blowing and it cuts you. I don't care what you wear.
yeah, when you think of Africa being, you know,
Been there too. It's hot and dusty in the summertime.
hot and dusty, yeah,
They have 2 seasons in Africa,
summertime
by the way.
and wintertime. It
Well,
does
they have, no, I'm sorry, they have 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
Well,
Early summer, summer, late summer, and winter.
I got a question that kind of puzzles me is that you think of Africa as land, but then when you look into the Bible, you see them up in Israel and Philistine and all them places. Are they still there today in them places? Are they
Oh, yes. The same wild animals, same creatures are out there. They still deal with bear. They still deal with lion. Just like we do out in the central plains of the U.S.
Yeah.
well, you know,
And then the Rockies.
here in Alabama,
Lions, tigers, and bears over there.
you don't see too many cougars or
That's Alabama, man. Come on, man.
bears. You don't
Yeah.
see. You don't see that. You know they're there, but I mean, it seems like the population is not as big.
No, it's not. But they
I would
still
think,
have.
I think it would be like that in Israel today. Is the population is not as big now as it was back then. More confined to.
I don't know. I've been to Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, a lot of countries. I have yet to get to Israel because, you know, remember when the Arab Spring happened? Well, we were like 2 months from our trip to Israel, to the Holy Land. Yeah. That went up in smoke real quick.
Is that when
The Arab uprising they called it the Arab Spring.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the trips the churches planned to go
Yeah.
over there, they had to cut back on some of their tourist attractions.
We had to cut back on everything because no one
This
would
I think
take
that's
us.
before COVID.
Oh, this was several years back.
Yeah.
But no one would take us. No, we couldn't get guides to take us anymore because it was too dangerous. So, anyway,
So this wasn't the first time. Back in 1 Samuel 17, this is the story of David and Goliath, where David's talking to Saul, and what does he say? Your servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, so 2 creatures, and took a lamb out of the flock. And what does David do? And I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth when he arose against me. I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him.
How to kill it? What did he do to the bear? I don't think a bear has a beard, does it? I think a lion does.
Yeah. Thoughts on this?
yeah, when I was up in Alaska, I used to carry a 44 Magnum when I went fishing. Because if a bear came to take the fish, you offered your sacrifice for all the fish. You threw it at the bear and you ran. And if the sacrifice was not acceptable,
He's after bigger meat then.
then you use the large caliber handgun to shoot at the bear as you run, and hopefully you'll hit it, or you're going to get eaten.
Get that man trying to feed me
Okay.
fish.
I want you to imagine this young man, David, a young, ruddy, small kid, typical. Okay, right here's David, y'all. Okay, you named him properly.
He's about that same size, isn't he?
And he
Whoa.
killed the lion and he killed the bear. Imagine he did that without a gun, without modern weapons. Who can do such a feat? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Probably most of the shepherds that were out there.
They knew how to use a slingshot.
They either learned how to do it or they weren't shepherds very long. They were food for the lions and the bears.
Yep.
David survived and became he was obviously a head shepherd because all of his brothers went to battle and David was left with the flock. And I'm sure he had underling shepherds with him out there. Why was David allowed to do that? Why did his father trust him when the father and all the big boys went? Because David was bad to the bone and they knew he could handle business. They knew that. You got to look at the culture and think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The brothers probably didn't have a whole lot of respect for the little brother, but Daddy did. Now, Daddy got real upset when he came there too, didn't he? Remember that?
Mhm.
You know why? I trusted you and I left you with the sheep. What are you doing here?
I think this is where Jesus uses the one about you've got 100 sheep and one
Yeah.
strays away. You
Yep.
go after the one.
99.
Yeah.
You know, so the daddy was not upset with David because he came as far as wanting to join the army. He's upset because he's not doing what he's told to do, to take care of the sheep. And David was quite capable of doing that.
There's some nice fur there, though.
Yeah.
So David, I want you to start practicing with your staff,
Bear rug.
okay?
I'd line my tent with a bear rug.
Next time I see you, I want you to see you where you can take down a bear or a lion with a staff.
Okay. So, thy servant or your servant slew both the lion and the bear. So, David, there's your answer.
Okay?
You asked the question here.
I love what Hagen uncircumcised Philistine.
Yep. Go ahead, Don.
Low life, uncircumcised outsider.
Well, how did he know? Did he pull up his tunic and look? Or
No, all the Philistines.
It was
Only,
a Gentile.
only the Jews were circumcised.
It was a Gentile.
Now, I want you, we're 5 men in this room right now. Consider for a moment how tough you've got to be an adult. Now, I understand they did it on day 8. Jesus was circumcised on day 8. But the first circumcision
Oh.
was done on the adults with a piece of slate
Abraham did his stuff.
Yeah.
that was sharpened a little bit.
That's man right there.
Those are men. Every one of them guys that did that was a man's man.
Bad to the bone.
And buddy, I'm gonna tell you what.
Yeah.
No, keep your little sharpened slate to yourself.
yeah.
But
But go ahead, Don.
uncircumcised Philistines shall be one of them. Not will be, might be. He's gonna be like the bear and the lion. He's gonna be one of them, seeing he hath defied the armies of the living God. Not the army of the king. Not the army of my daddy. Not the army of me. The army of the living God.
So there is a manifesto in this pamphlet that I read, and I thought it was pretty good. So, Professor, or we have a new nickname for David,
Okay.
Mailman.
Mailman. Neither rain, nor snow, nor sleet. Or puddles of water.
So, read the Lion Chaser's manifesto, David.
That last word on the first line is kind of hard. You ain't got it on there. You gonna sit from the side, ain't you?
Roar.
Roar.
Yeah.
Okay. Quit living as if the purpose of life is to strive slavefully at death. Run to the roar. Set God-sized goals. Pursue God-given passions. Go after a dream that is destined to fall without adverse divine intervention. Stop pointing out problems. Become part of the solution. Stop repeating the past. Start creating the future. Face your fears. Fight for your dreams. Grab opportunity by the mane and don't let go. Live like today is the first day and last day of your life. I've heard that before. Burn sinful bridges, blaze new trails, live for the applause of nail-scarred hands. Don't let what's wrong with you keep you from worshiping what's right with God. Dare to fail, dare to be different, quit holding out, quit holding back, and quit running away. Chase the lion.
I like that.
Thoughts before I go into it?
Can you send it to
No,
me?
go ahead.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah.
Send it to me. I like that.
Um,
I like it a lot.
I always say without risk, there's no reward.
Without risk, there's no failure either.
yeah. So,
There you go. That's good. I'm gonna grab you by the beard.
so,
That's very realistic in size, too.
Yeah.
so
Them
let's
heads are big.
Go for it.
That ratio is
Grab
very
my
realistic.
beard.
so let's say that
Oh man.
that we're on a safari and you know you're face to face with a lion.
I'm not getting out of the car.
They sticking my head up.
And
I wouldn't even let a monkey in the car.
but David, that's a problem, right? If you are face to face with a lion, you have
Go ahead.
a problem.
Love it.
Probably the last
You
problem
do, I
you'll
don't,
ever
because I'm
have.
leaving you there with the lion, buddy.
Yep.
I may knock you upside the head so you can't get away.
Go ahead, grab my beard.
So if you think of
I'll make sure I can run faster than you too.
I may hobble you so I can, no, I know I can run faster.
if you think of tradition back then, Benaiah probably wasn't no bigger than this guy right here.
Yeah.
You know.
David was probably a lot about your
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
He was a very, not a large, vicious kind of guy. He wasn't a big muscular guy.
I don't think Simpson was either.
Didn't look like Schwarzenegger.
Right.
You ain't no Schwarzenegger, but guess what? David wasn't either, but you don't have to be.
But he used this.
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
That's right.
He used that.
You don't have to be. And I know we'll get off subject, but I just feel I have to read you this.
Go ahead,
Because
Don,
this is-
please.
This is so big. And this is a true story, supposedly. You can't never tell about the press. 93-year-old man in a hospital in Italy who survived COVID was billed for the respirator he needed for a full day at the height of his sickness. And he began to cry. And the doctor asked him not to cry over the expense because they could work something out. And he said, I do not cry for the money because I have the money to pay the bill. I can afford this. I cry because I've been breathing God's air for 93 years and I've never paid for it.
Mm.
It cost 500 euro to use the respirator in the hospital for a day. How much do I owe God? That is a powerful statement. How much do we owe God?
Goes back to what we was talking about earlier too, with the wise men giving all that frankincense,
Yeah.
myrrh, gold.
How much
They
was
knew
that in
that they
today's?
knew that they were
$1
going
million.
to be saved too. It wasn't just the Jews.
Yeah.
They were Gentiles. It was worth everything they had just for salvation.
So question, do you have a dream?
Oh, I've got a bunch of dreams. I've always had a bunch of dreams.
Well, I'm kind of living out my wife's dream right now.
Is it a dream or a nightmare?
It's her dream. It's my nightmare. About $4,000 worth.
My new toy. My new keep me alive toy.
Hey Don, will you replenish my cup, please?
Sure I will. Just so y'all all out there know,
Yours is
David
out with
loves
a
coffee.
scholar.
Cold.
So
I believe he went past the commercials tonight.
I think women have more dreams than men do.
Yeah.
When you have a dream, does it match what you just read about chasing the lion?
Yeah. Some people dream about going to a fancy resort. My dream is to go to the Grand Canyon, road trip,
Oh, there you go.
go to, somewhere
Panama City.
exotic, yeah. Like this. And
Been there so many times, I don't want to go again.
They said one of the beautifulest beaches in Florida is off the west coast.
You broke down and got
Siesta
some.
Beach.
Don't
He
say-
said that sounds like powder down there.
Prettiest beaches I ever seen in Puerto Rico. That is some gorgeous.
I've been to Puerto
place.
Rico, I've been to Vieques Island, the west and north coast of Hawaii.
That water is almost green. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that was what I liked about Puerto Rico, the Caribbean down there.
The prettiest water I've ever
Brown
seen.
sand on one side and white on the other. It's awesome.
I know Destin's water's kind of clear, but if you go down to St. Thomas, and you take a tour up to the top of the mountain, you can see it's one that they call it one of the prettiest 10 beaches in the world. And from up high, you can see the bottom, and all the rocks and stuff that's down in it.
Destin's pretty. Tampa Bay's pretty.
which leads us to, David, Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. Someone read that for us.
I would, but your head's in the way.
It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princesses, which should be over the whole kingdom.
Okay, wait a minute. Now, who is Darius?
He is the same as
King Nebuchadnezzar's son,
huh?
grandson.
No, this is Persian. This ain't Babylonian.
Babylonian.
This is Persian.
Oh, okay.
This ain't nothing with Nebuchadnezzar. He's sort of like a Belshazzar. Some say that he was just a regent.
Okay, you have to go back to Daniel 5, the last two verses. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. That sets the scene, and we can't. That's how you get in context here.
Yeah.
The end of Daniel 5. So Belshazzar was slain. How was Belshazzar slain? He was assassinated. And Darius the
Darius
Mede
took over.
received the kingdom. And who killed Belshazzar? Darius. And how did he get the kingdom? He took it by killing the king. Pretty simple way.
You want to be the man, beat the man.
That's right. And it pleased Darius. So Darius didn't like the way things were working. He didn't like the way the kingdom worked, and it pleased him to set over the kingdom 120 princes as subordinate rulers.
Right.
He didn't like the Belshazzar trying to do it all himself and being a dictator.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to have somewhat of a governorship of different districts and areas of the kingdom. He's still the man because he killed the man.
Well, I don't know if this Darius was the king, because in Isaiah 45:1 it says, "This is what our Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, king of Persia, whose right hand I have held to subdue nations before him, and I will ungird the loins of kings." Anyway, this is like 150 years before Persia even takes over Babylon, and he's naming Cyrus as the one that overthrows him. Now, I think Darius It's kind of like a Belshazzar. They say that his dad liked to stay in another city. He really wasn't the king type like, you know. So he set Belshazzar over his kingdom. And I think Cyrus has done this with Darius.
Rome did the same thing. They ruled out of one place, but a lot of times the kings was in Panama City. They were on the beaches. Everybody else was having the problem.
Verse 2.
And over these three presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. So Daniel just passed from one king to the other.
Yeah. Okay, Nebuchadnezzar died. Belshazzar became the king. And this is from Daniel 5:2. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels from his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem. Bring the gold and the silver vessels and silverware and stuff, and they brought those out. Okay, then Belshazzar at the end of that chapter is murdered by Darius, not a relative of Nebuchadnezzar, but a member of the court from Mede, because it's a Medo-Persian, and he's the Mede, and he killed Belshazzar, took over the kingdom, and he created a different way of governing. But it's still all of those good Jewish kids that had been raised up in the court, they passed from one king to another. That things didn't change. Just the one that sat on the throne changed. Nebuchadnezzar died. Belshazzar his son took his place. Belshazzar got murdered. The Mede took his place. Okay? And Darius decided he wanted a different way of doing business. So he had these 120 satraps, or princes, or whatever you might want to call them. They call them satraps here. Over these, there were 3 governors. So he had 3 levels of governor, and probably, northeast and south, or something like that. District 1, 2, and 3. X number of subordinates over them, but Daniel
Over all of them.
Daniel was one of those 3 governors. And those princes or satraps might give account to Daniel. And the other 2, doesn't even really mention, I don't think, anywhere in here, who the other 2 governors were. They weren't important to the story. Daniel's important to the story. Why? Because it's the book of Daniel.
It's his
Okay.
story.
You don't read about Abraham Lincoln and find out about John Wilkes Booth. At the first, you find out later. Okay?
Now let me read you this footnote
What's the purpose?
about Darius the Mede.
Okay.
It said is mentioned by name only in the book of Daniel. He cannot be the famous Darius the First, Hystaspes, because Darius the First was not a Mede, and he lived too late, 522 to 486 BC,
Yeah.
to be a contemporary of Daniel. It is believed that Darius the Mede was Gubaru, a governor appointed by Cyrus. Ancient literary sources indicate that this official took over immediately in Babylon until Cyrus appointed his own son, Cambyses, as co-ruler around 538 BC.
So this Darius is not that Darius. This is a different Darius. But anyway, what's the purpose? What's important here is the purpose. He took 3 governors, but one of them was Daniel. They each had roughly 40 subordinates under them, that the king would not be damaged. There wouldn't be loss. People wouldn't be stealing from the king.
Right.
These are financial and property managers. That's their purpose. He trusted Daniel with the money of the kingdom. That's the cool part. David, I want you to take care over all of my finances, make sure all my bills are paid,
Oh, you're in
because
trouble.
I'm going to go on,
David laughing.
I'm going to go traveling. I'll be back once a quarter, but if I've suffered any loss or my bills aren't paid, any problems, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut your head off, and I'm going to put your head on a spike out front. Then I'm going to hire somebody else to take care of it and let them know that's David's head there, and this reason it's there because I suffered loss.
Well, here's my head. Go ahead and take it.
That's where
Good
Daniel
job,
was.
good job right there.
Now, my question for you, David, is, and you answered it already, do you want that job?
Absolutely not.
Daniel
Be in trouble.
Daniel took the job. Daniel was preferred above the rest.
But can I say this?
Yeah.
Daniel was called to do this job.
Yes.
Well, that's why he took it right there. Excellent spirit was in him.
Well, hold on. All right, let's get into it. Daniel
Excellence.
was preferred above the presidents and the princes because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm.
Yeah.
So, promotion. Now, Daniel's at this point, he's what, around 80 years old now?
Maybe not. He
He's
ain't far
getting
from
older.
He's up
it. He
there,
ain't far from it.
He's middle-aged at the very least.
late sixties, early
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
The man.
And he's got a spirit of excellence in everything he does.
Well, he
A lot
probably
of experience.
he probably died during he probably died around during the Medes.
Let's get back to the story because it's so
Ruling.
important.
Yeah.
So
okay, go ahead.
I mean,
Sorry.
the king was so impressed with how well he accounted for everything, how well he appointed people, how well he invested the money and invested the resources and made sure there was a positive return on everything. If you look at this, they were also responsible for civic duties, civic responsibilities, infrastructure,
Yes.
making sure everything was working, the roads were maintained, the military was maintained to protect the realm, protect the kingdom. And David did it all better than all of them.
David? You mean Daniel?
Daniel. And guess what? What does that make the rest of them do? Flip slide, go to the next. I love the story
The
because it's so important to understand why we should have a spirit of excellence as
Right, he made-
Christians.
using your little imagination a little bit and looking at it, I mean, here you got a new empire coming in, and the old's going out, and of course, coming in, you might say, "I want to see the books." Well, Daniel's over the books, and he can see how he counts for every penny. So that might impress me enough to.
Well, he did everything. He paid all the bills on time, and he paid the military.
Yeah.
He built the roads, built the infrastructure, got the water going. This had to have been at least a year or more, because you have to do the job to impress the king.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
if it ain't broke, don't
Don't
fix it.
fix it. Yeah.
He killed Belshazzar because it was broke.
All right,
Thanks
Dave,
for not-
go ahead and read verse 4 for us.
Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find not occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him.
They
So-
was looking to charge him with something.
So
They couldn't even get him from embezzlement.
can anybody say that about you?
Anybody can find something against me.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I'm pretty faulty.
seeing,
If you look-
it doesn't ever say that Daniel had a wife, but if you're married, they're gonna have faults anyway.
Well, Daniel is one of the very few people in human history that nobody says anything bad about him. There are several people like that in the Bible.
Abraham.
Abraham,
All
Job,
religions.
and of course
Job
Jesus.
was a good. Abraham had some faults, y'all.
Yeah, but,
Come on now.
Well, see,
but every religion honors
well,
Abraham.
see, Job was married, and his wife tried to find fault in him.
Every
And
wife.
you
You
got
have to be single. See,
And
David,
then,
David,
said
no one's
these
finding
wise
fault in you because you
so,
don't
so
have
they
a wife.
looked at it real hard, and then they said, "We shall not find an occasion or a fault against this Daniel." So, except we find it against him.
concerning the
concerning the
law of his
Laws
God.
So they start
You know-
looking at the Jewish religion. Is he violating Jewish law somewhere in here? Because we can't get nothing on Medo-Persian law. Can't get nothing on the way he does business. Let's look at the Jewish law, see if we can find it.
Maybe they'll find a way with a ruler.
Yeah. So
He
what?
may be doing okay for you, but he ain't doing okay over here.
Yeah. We see, you know, persecution is nothing new, I don't think, because they did it back in Genesis, you know, Exodus. You know, what did they do in the first 3 chapters of Exodus? They killed all the babies, and you know, because of whatever reason. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said, "Thus unto him, King Darius, live forever."
Oh, I hate when they do that.
We got
They did that to the last king.
you got
When
to
they
pat
want
him,
to get somebody, the first thing they do is go to the king and butter him up.
you got to pat him on the back, tell him that he's doing a great job.
Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king and said thus unto the king, "O King Darius, live forever." All the presidents in the kingdom, the governors and the princes and the counselors and the captains, all of us together, we have all consulted together to establish a royal statute. We've come up with a new rule,
New plan.
new plan.
And they had to
Sounds
Why did they do that? Because they looked to see what Daniel had to do according to Jewish law. Then said these men, we shall
Hold-
not.
No. This is not the king. These are
I know that. These are
men.
all
Yeah.
of the ones that are jealous.
But they have-
looked at Daniel and what he had to do under Jewish law.
They have a plan.
They come up with a plan and they come up with this new statute. What is the new statute?
Republicans trying to get rid of the
Well, you
Democrats.
gotta
To make a firm
to make-
decree.
Yeah.
You gotta look at that. They didn't get all the presidents and
They got all of their
They got
You
their
gotta
buddies together.
Shadrach,
They got their
Meshach,
party
and
together.
Abednego were presidents and rulers and governors too.
Yeah.
So I think
they didn't get them all, but
they were
They got all their
Go ahead,
party
David.
together.
they were left out.
Dave, go ahead and read.
And to
They
make
didn't
a
invite the Republicans.
firm
No.
decree,
You gotta-
whosoever
Y'all let him read the Bible.
We're talking about bipartisanship
I
over
know.
here.
They didn't have any.
To make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for the next 30 days,
Yep.
instead of you, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. They went away from the fiery furnace and gone to the den of lions now.
So we're going to end that session there, and we'll be back with session 2 shortly.
40 minutes.
Anybody that worships any other god except you over the next 30